See, I would be, and I'm not about to suggest that I'm diagnosing myself. My wife does that all the time. But I would probably be a great candidate for the poster boy for ADD, ADHD activity because of the activity. And you go from the TV station to the radio station, and nothing necessarily catches my attention for more than a very short period of time. On television, about 8 minutes. Hi, Sterling.
Pat, how are you?
Sterling Pratt, does any of that sound familiar diagnostically?
Well, I'd have to compete with you for the poster boy, definitely.
Well, just a second, hold it. Yeah, you wrote the book, Pudd'nhead Parenting, Forming a Positive Working Relationship with a Child with ADD. It doesn't say Dr. Pratt. It doesn't say psychologist working at the Mayo Clinic Pratt. What do you know about ADD?
No, I've gotten my credentials over the last 50 years. Pudd'nhead was actually my nickname growing up. My mom gave me that name because I started first grade. I was a bright kid and I failed first grade. And I was the youngest of 6 kids. All my siblings were straight A students. And she's like, what planet did you come from? And in the 60s, she knew nothing about ADD. And nobody did, really. And,
I was going to say, where would she go for information?
She was at a total loss. And that's one of the messages I'm trying to get out here is that there are kids today that are growing up in that same environment where their parents really have not gotten enough information about ADD, and they're at a loss of what to do.
Well, you give them some information. You tell them about being Pudd'nhead Pratt and what it is that was going on in your typical day.
Yeah, well, the thing that I focus on, I mean, your wife is a clinician, a psychologist,
she's a psychotherapist,
yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of great things for kids with ADD and parents. But I saw a gap with all the parents that I was talking to that were struggling to raise their kids, and parents do. It's a scary challenge for some of these kids.
Tell them about Pratt, the ADD kid, so that they can say, wait a minute, I have one of those.
You know, I actually wrote a book before this. It's called Pudd'nhead Adventures. That's my life growing up. And my wife read it, and she absolutely loved it and said, you can never publish this. Because we have 6 kids, and now we have grandkids, and wow, if they knew. But it is an important story because I struggled growing up, and I was coping in all the wrong ways. Because without the diagnosis, what you do is you blame yourself, and you take on all these moral, labels, lazy and uncooperative, don't care. And the self-esteem issue becomes very intense for you.
Well, what should parents be looking for now?
Well, first of all, to understand what ADD is and how their kid's brain works. And I slip with the son because majority of the kids that are ADD are boys. It's more prevalent among boys. But there's a lot you can do with the self-esteem. So parents have to get that understanding first, and they have to accept, what their kid's going through. And
what is he going through?
Failure, a lot of times. And that's the thing is that as they go to school, and in fact, a parent just, I get this constantly, but a parent just in the studio here was talking to me about their child, and the teachers would send them home from school because they didn't have their medication. And the label of I'm not acceptable among people unless I've taken a pill, it's a big hit to self-esteem. And then just the constant failure. They make a lot more mistakes. It takes them a lot longer to get where they need to go.
Is it the same as hyperactivity?
There's a lot of faces to ADD, and that's one of the things that parents have to understand is exactly how ADD is manifested in their child. But I think what parents really need to do is learn how the approach to help their kid get past it.
Okay, start now. Within the limits of the time that we have, a couple of steps for mom and dad who have said, you know what, I think that those letters apply to Jimmy or Jane or whomever it is that the child is. How early on, for example, in childhood, would they notice some of these tendencies?
Yeah, most of the time it's when kids start school, but it could be at a time when the demands on their brain exceed, how far their brain has developed. But I really stress that the parents start to focus in on the child's strengths and what I call superpowers. Because that's how they're going to attack their challenges, through their superpowers. I mean, you're in an industry, you're ADD, but this is your sweet spot, right? And if a child can recognize their superpowers and go in that direction, then life gets pretty good for them, right? And then I give a lot of tips in my book about what parents can do to rebuild and protect their child's self-esteem.
Give me a couple.
Well, for example, just the superpower things help a lot. And there's something inside, it's called the inner critic, that beats us up all the time. It's got good intentions, but it takes a really bad approach. And to be able to recognize the things that we tell ourselves, you know, the name calling and comparing ourselves to other people, and be able to counteract those arguments that our inner critic is giving, that's a big step in being able to protect our self-esteem.
Hello, Mrs. Pratt. Your son is considering writing 2 books. Pardon me? What, he'll never finish them? Well, I'll let him know. I mean, this is kind of unusual for somebody who spent years and years and years and continues to fight the battle, if you will.
And if
ADD.
I could get parents to understand that their child can get to where they need to go in life, it's going to take them a different path. They're going to have to take a different approach. It may take them a little longer, but absolutely do not give up on their goals, dreams, and living a fulfilled life. And parents have to know that right at their core. They have to be able to look at their child with that 100% belief, because otherwise their child's not going to believe it.
But can a child with diagnosed ADD, ADHD, can they be good students?
They can be. What they have to do is put in place some strategy. I actually have an ebook, a 3rd book, and my mother will be really amazed.
Uh-oh, Mrs. Pratt, he's done it again.
There's 101 ADD strategies. And kids with ADD struggle with executive function problems like organization, planning, prioritization, and there's strategies around all of that stuff. So after the self-esteem is there, the understanding is there, then you can start picking strategies to get where you want to go.
Okay, are you where you want to go because of medication?
Medication has been a part of it, and it is often. And I think the issue of medication is so big in the news, but what we need to really focus on is whether you take a medication or not, what else are we doing for that child? And so many times, and it's really sad, that medication is the only thing that's being done for that child.
Well, except for the things that are in the book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Pudd'nhead Parenting. Where do we get it, Sterling?
Well, you can go to my website, www.addparentingsupport.com.
It's right there on the screen.
There's slash, if you type in that URL and then say /AZTV, you can take advantage of an AZTV discount.
Well, sensational. Listen, I liked you when you came in, and now even better. All I know is if you have an ADD or ADHD kid, and you say, go get the vacuum cleaner, well, he may forget by the time he gets to where the vacuums are. But the most important thing is that he uses the right vacuum. You'll find out what I mean by that in just a moment.